Dua Lipa. More like Dua Nada in this movie. Am I right?
Not your best.
And welcome to Cassette Take, where you can eject whenever you want, but please don't forget to rewind. I'm Ethan.
I'm Henry Cavill's barber.
And that's Annmarie. And by our wonderful, wonderful humor in the beginning, 10 out of 10, you can tell probably what movie we saw. Annmarie, what was it?
We saw Matthew Vaughn's Argylle.
Yeah, Matthew Vaughn's Argylle. A Matthew Vaughn Marv, his company's Marv, right? Yeah, Marv
Marv.
movie.
Yeah.
Featuring
Bryce Dallas Howard,
Henry Cavill,
Bryan Cranston,
Sam Rockwell,
Dua Lipa,
well, attemptively Dua Lipa.
Ariana DeBose.
Oh yeah, she was in the movie.
Yeah, you could have made that joke with her too.
Oh, that's so true. So yeah, if for all of you guys who don't know, this Matthew Vaughn movie is about a spy novelist,
Yes.
played by Bryce Dallas Howard,
Mm-hmm.
who basically, is a very successful spy writer, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, while she's writing her most recent book, she finds out that her writing is actually maybe a little too close to reality and gets caught up in this whole spy world
With her cat Alfie.
with her cat Alfie, the star stealer
He
of
stole
the
the
show,
show. He stole it.
with all 9 lives.
Oh man, yeah, Arga. Yeah, you broke it down pretty well. It has mystery. It has suspense. I kind of said it was kind of like Knives Out and Kingsman tied into one, and so. But what did you think of it?
What did I think of it? So, going into this movie, it was definitely my most anticipated movie of the year.
It was on your watch.
Yeah.
Top 5.
Yeah, maybe not my most anticipated. I take that back. It was definitely on my top 5.
That goes to Dune.
Yes, that is very true. But yeah, I was really looking forward to it. I love the first Kingsman. Second Kingsman, I acknowledge it suffered from sequelitis, but I still enjoyed it overall. The Kingsman was solid. I enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
And he did Kick-Ass too, right?
Yeah, and Matthew Vaughn did First Class as well.
Yeah, X-Men First Class.
Yeah, he's a wonderful director,
Yeah,
honestly.
he has such a fun style. I love his directing style.
Yeah.
You love his Rule of 3
yes,
style
yeah.
with that he does with the camera.
I'm excited to kind of get into that too.
Yeah, so I mean, we were both, I would say both really looking forward to this movie.
Well, even the trailers really sold us both. We saw the trailers for a couple of the movies we saw in December, and we're like, oh, this looks really interesting.
Exactly. So we go into this theater, we're pumped, we get our Nicole Kidman ad, we're loving it, and the movie starts.
And it started.
It did start, and wow, so Argylle, it is overall, I enjoyed it. I'll start off with that.
Yeah.
Overall, I enjoyed it. Let's talk about the positives.
Okay.
I think that Argylle has some really fun directing.
Yes.
Like, there's a lot, like, Matthew Vaughn takes what, Jason Fuchs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or Fuchs,
Fuchs, I think.
It's Fuchs, so, like, I'm not sure how
We're
you
not
pronounce
swearing.
it. Yeah, so, FCC, no.
Please don't.
No, wait.
Susan, don't get mad at us.
No, but, yeah, he wrote the script, and, I think Matthew Vaughn takes that script, turns it into a very entertaining and overall fun experience.
Mm-hmm.
The actors bring it, all this whole cast. It's a very, very, all these up-and-coming actors like Bryan Cranston.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking about it. I'm like, you mean Dua Lipa? I was like, what are you talking about?
No, up-and-comers. They're brand new to the scene. Bryan Cranston, Sam Rockwell, Bryce Dallas Howard. Rookies. Never seen them in my life.
Never.
No, but everyone...
She played Gwen Stacy? What?
Never heard of her. No, I think everyone brings it. They do a fun job. And, I was, even at its low points, I was really, still enjoying the movie. There's a lot of classic Matthew Vaughn scenes where it's like, how he can direct a fight scene. If there's anyone that can do it, it's Matthew Vaughn. And there's something I want to bring up though, but we're talking about the positives.
Positives first. Okay,
Positives
okay.
first.
I made a weird face at Ethan. I was like, oh.
Yeah, but there's a lot to enjoy from this movie, and you and I were going back and forth about it, like about all the different positives, because we have our thoughts about what we'll talk about in a moment. But yeah, what do you have to say?
I agree with you. I think I was very pleasantly enjoyed the movie. I love Bryce Dallas Howard. I think she's an excellent actress, and Sam Rockwell. Haven't seen much of him lately, and I really enjoyed him in this film. I think his comedy really hits, and Matthew Vaughn is one of those directors I really really enjoy. When the trailer plays, the shot of when they're shooting and there's gas around them, the colors, I leaned over to you. I'm like, this is such a cool shot. Like, I love his directing, and he's very good at directing the rules of three. Like, I don't know how he centers people, and like the background, it's very pleasing to me, and I enjoy it. And so overall, again, the comedy really works for me. The acting really works for me. The directing, to the most part, really works for me. But then we have a tale of two different sides between me and you.
Yes, we do. So, from my perspective,
yes.
the positive side,
the wrong side. From your perspective.
From my point of view, the first act is evil.
And from my point of view, the second and third act is evil.
So, yeah, we had very different perspectives with that sense of like the pacing of the movie. Yeah. I thought the first act, honestly, you could cut the first 10 minutes out of the movie. Movie would be the same. I thought it dragged on way too long, especially in the first act. The second and third act, however, because I'll be honest with you, there are a lot of twists in this movie.
Oh, this is
so many twists and turns.
This is Knives Out and Kingsman together.
Yeah, it just twist upon twist. It's like a Shyamalan wet dream.
Yes.
And, it is just... I personally liked it, because it didn't feel like the twists... It didn't feel like the twists came out too much out of nowhere. Like, there was reasoning for each one, and it kind of felt like it was brought in almost fairly seamlessly. But, that first act, before all that, it just dragged on. I was so bored. So by the time we got to the second and third act, I'm like, it's about time. This is where the movie kind of should have, had that spread some of this towards the beginning.
Yeah, and I'm in a totally different boat than you. I really enjoyed the first act. I feel like it set up the story really well. I also think the trailer plays more towards the first act of the movie from what they are given, and we're not doing spoilers yet. And so the twists for me didn't work as well, and when we get to there, I'll explain, but I really liked the first act because I was like, oh, this is kind of, different. Bryce Dallas Howard, Sam Rockwell, like, their characters bonding, I really, really enjoyed, and their acting style together, I really liked, and the directing of it, and then it gets to the second, third act, and the Matthew Vaughn-isms come out, where it's just bonkers.
Bloody bonkers.
It really is, and we'll get into it, but man, that movie, it's what you expect from Matthew Vaughn. He kind of has that bonkers. Like, if you've seen Kick-Ass and Kingsman, you totally understand.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of transitioning off of that, I guess it's good to go into the negatives of the movie.
Yeah.
Which I think you and I can both agree on. Like, part of Matthew Vaughnisms, as you were saying, include, some heavy use of CGI.
Yes.
And in the past, I think that has been used fairly well. It kind of plays with your suspense of disbelief enough to where that rubber band, as Quentin Tarantino, he mainly explains and uses it for, like, suspense and all that, but I kind of use it for suspense of disbelief as well.
Yeah.
For how long you can drag something out for while keeping the audience engaged. And he does that pretty well consistently, but with this movie, I felt like with the CGI, he kind of relied on it a little too much.
Yeah, and there's certain scenes we both have talked about that were like that. There's that part didn't work because of the CGI and all that, and it takes you out. And I don't think, I'll be honest, I don't think any of Matthew Vaughn's films have the best CGI. You kind of, again, he kind of has that funny like energy with it, and so I never expect to have the best CGI. But some of the things in this movie, I was like, oh, like, that didn't have enough time to render, or you didn't give the editing team, VFX team enough time for that. There's a lot of CGI, though.
Yeah, and again, like you were saying, there's a little more cartoony excuse for it, where it's like, okay, I can see that he can get away with that, because especially with how he shoots his non-CGI elements of like the fight scenes.
They're really good.
Yeah,
they're really good.
Like I said before, if there's anyone that knows how to shoot a fight scene, it's Matthew Vaughn.
Oh, yeah.
It keeps you engaged. It's so new. There's something innovative each time with it. And I love the different angles he uses.
Yeah.
While keeping it, in some cases, with one shot and like the certain cuts. I love it. But, the whole thing with the CGI and becoming a little too reliant on it is it'll take you out of those moments. Like, all that work to create such a great fight scene will be taken away because you decided to stretch out that rubber band so much that it snaps. And there's quite a few times in this movie where it snaps.
Yeah, it doesn't work too well at certain points. And I think even, like I've talked about it, I think his style of directing is very pleasing to my eyes because he's so good at the rules of three. But I think some of the fight scenes even fall short for different reasons, too. So.
Right. I mean, hey, if those fight scenes were as long as Dua Lipa was in this movie, they might have been better.
I love how we're picking on Dua Lipa this whole
Well, I mean, we're not picking on her. We're picking on the lack of her.
That is true. That is very true.
Don't get me wrong. I would completely endorse more Dua Lipa rather than a Dua Nada.
Dua Nada.
I'm still riding that joke.
Oh my god.
To my grave.
What did you think about Henry Cavill in this? Because I really like Henry Cavill in this movie. I like how he's kind of changing as much as he's changing like his haircut. He's changing his style of acting to be more comedian.
Yeah, there's quite like a good blend of like action and comedy in there, which Matthew Vaughn is very good at, and I think he's really good at directing his actors that way.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do anyone with that, Henry Cavill is definitely one of those types of actors that can really work with that, especially like the Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Oh yeah.
That's a good example of when he was like that. Maybe the Enola Holmes series, I think, would be a good example of that.
I really like what he's doing now. I really enjoy it because like he is kind of like, those people that just kind of look like cartoons, like The Rock. Henry Cavill looks like a cartoon, and so I kind of like that he's leaning into it a little bit more.
I never really thought about it like
that. He's a cartoon character. Like, the way he walks and carries himself, I'm like, oh yeah, like, even in this movie, his, like, outfit, like, the way he's buttoned.
I could just imagine you going up to, like, Henry Cavill, like, at a press event or something like that, saying, like, hey, has anyone ever told you, like, how well you would fit in with the Looney Tunes characters?
Well, he's changing his hair all the time, so who's his barber? I'm sorry. You screw up his mustache, now you screw up his hair?
Quite a few times, and we'll get into that with a little bit of spoiler territory. But I guess before we do, Annmarie, overall, what were your, like, out of 10, how many Henry Cavill CGI mustaches would you give, or bad haircuts would you give out of 10?
You know what? I think I did enjoy this movie. As much as I didn't like the plot twist, which we'll get into, I give it a solid, like, 7. I think a 7's pretty fair. Like, again, there's issues with it. I have more issues than positives, but overall I walked out, I'm like, oh, this was fun. And that's all the movie needed to be for me.
Yeah, so how many did you say?
7.
7. I like blanked out for a sec. I'm sorry. But yeah, I would honestly I would have to agree with you. 7. I was going back and forth between 6 and 7, But after I thought about more, like overall, I did have a really fun time with the movie.
Yeah.
Even though the beginning was pretty stagnant for me, I still enjoyed the remainder. And honestly, it's not really how you start; it's how you finish. So I think the cast was very charismatic, especially honestly Sam Rockwell and Bryce Dallas Howard. Their chemistry, I wasn't really expecting it to work, and it works just well enough to where I could get on board with them. And as the movie went on, everyone just was very, very enchanting, and
Yeah.
it was fun. I really enjoyed it. Matthew Vaughn's again. I'm a sucker for a good Matthew Vaughn fight scene. I'll say it till I go to my grave. But yeah, overall, not the Matthew Vaughn's best work, but still, if you like his stuff, I'd say go see it. It's enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
So, 7 out of 10 Henry Cavill trips to the barbershop.
Honestly.
So now,
spoilers?
We're getting into a little spoiler time.
Spoilers. They marketed this movie horribly. This should have been marketed as a love movie because Bryce Dallas Howard and Sam Rockwell fall in love in this movie. And who would have gotten that from the trailers?
Yeah, honestly, it's a pretty fun rom-com, but that's part of the twist, though.
Yeah, it is. So, Ethan kind of mentioned this. There's multiple twists. This is, Knives Out all, over. There's, 5 twists in this movie?
Something like that.
It's crazy.
I heard, someone else talking about it and saying, wow, this movie is, multiple movies into one.
It really is.
You kind of lose track, oh, wait, this is a movie here, and then it becomes a different movie here, and then, after one twist, it becomes a different movie. And, honestly, I thought it juggled it pretty well, but there's a lot of twists and turns that I'm just like, wow, that's very interesting, but again, you kind of didn't like it, so I'm a little surprised by it.
So the biggest twist is that she is actually, Bryce Dallas Howard character, Ellie, is actually a brainwash agent, named Argylle.
Argylle.
I'm sorry. It just doesn't work for me.
And for all you theorists out there, no. Alfie is not the real Agent Argylle. I see your theories out there, all you cat lovers. It's not
the cat.
Alfie.
Oh, I thought you meant Sam Jackson's character, Alfie. Yeah, so the biggest plot twist is Ellie Conroy is a secret spy. And I don't know. It just didn't work for me. I kind of liked it that I get, you have your different opinions about it, but I kind of like it that it was more of, I wish it was more of, hey, you're just, psychic, and you're writing a book, and you just see these visions and all that. Instead of being you're actually Argylle. And then Cavill's talking to you in a mirror.
Yeah, they use that whole Henry Cavill being in a mirror bit. I thought it was kind of funny at first with her seeing Sam Rockwell's character as Henry Cavill. Yeah. It was funny, here and there, but when they started using it a little too much, I'm like, okay, I get it. I kind
of thought it was more of to me, before the twist came, I was like, oh, it's more of Argylle was always in you, but it's she was actually a spy agent.
Yeah. One of the things I will give this movie, by the way, is how they really kind of got into the mind of a writer.
Yeah.
I thought that was probably the best I've ever seen it in a movie, where they show you the scene that they see in their head, and then if you stop writing it, what it feels like to a writer.
See, and that was in the first half, so that's so interesting that you really.
I would say it's towards the end of the first half, if anything, though.
Yeah, but that's the half that I liked and you didn't like as much.
I that's why I kind of think of it as the segue into the second half.
Okay.
So don't try to make it seem like it's part of that awful first. No, I'm kidding. It's not awful, but yeah. Again,
I just think it becomes too silly. It just gets too silly. The ice skating.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about the skating scene.
That
So
was
because I really
yeah.
liked it until a certain point.
Yeah, and I just did it. I thought they were gonna just light the floor on fire because they're like, "Don't shoot your gun." I'm like, "Just light it on fire."
Which, yeah, okay. So for all of you who have not seen the movie but you don't care about spoilers, the context is they the main characters, Bryce Dallas Howard's character and Sam Rockwell's character and the cat Alfie, can't forget him,
Of course.
are pushed into a corner in this oil, like with the room filled with oil all over the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And the bad guys establish, like, hey, don't shoot your gun, one spark, and this place goes kaboom.
Mm-hmm.
And in order, like, they start turning into a knife fight, and Bryce is like, how do I do this? And she turns her shoes, like, she puts knives in her shoes and skates around because she remembers that, oh, I'm good at ice skating, which makes more sense in the movie than me explaining it.
Yeah.
But I thought, like, that was such a fun, cool scene. The choreography was great with it. I thought that overall was a pretty good blend of CGI and stunt coordination. But then it gets to a certain point to where they have the her pick up a gun
And start shooting people.
and then shoot, like, pretty darn close to the oil on the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm like, didn't you just establish that,
Not
like,
to do that?
they're not using their guns because of that?
Yeah.
And it kind of took me out of it. And then there was another moment where she threw a knife at the final bad guy left standing.
So bad.
And honestly, you could have done it where you have it like a cutaway. You have her throwing it like authentically, and then
Yeah.
it slow-mo flies through the air. What they decided to do was do it all in one shot where you see her not only throwing it and it goes suddenly into slow-mo, but it's like someone took a mouse in Photoshop or whatever
Yeah.
and then just like suddenly
it.
dragged the knife after it was already a couple inches out of her hand and then like changed the speed of it and like dragged it over to
Yeah.
the guy's head.
It didn't look great.
No, it did not. It like again, you can tug on that rubber band of suspense of disbelief with like, you know, mediocre CGI
Yeah.
to a certain extent, but those two moments it just snapped.
Yeah, and I think that for me was honestly I was really looking forward to this scene, but it was the scene of when they're coming out and they have the smoke bombs everywhere, and they start doing this dance and fighting people, and it just did not work for me. Something about Matthew Vaughn, he's so good with music. He sucked. Like, it was not good music in this.
Yeah, there was usually he's really I'm not sure if it's his job. I mean, you would think so. He's the director.
Yeah, he's the director.
But like, you know,
It's
with
like a slow song. It doesn't work.
yeah, and sometimes stuff like that does work, you know,
Yeah.
but in here it really doesn't work.
Yeah.
You take a scene from Kingsman, like I think is his creme de la creme of, you know, fight scenes with the church scene from Kingsman.
Of course, yeah.
Freebird playing while the what's his name? I can't remember the character's name.
Colin Ford.
Colin Firth's character.
Oh.
But like I can't remember.
Yeah.
Either way, he's beating the crap out of all these people to Freebird, and it is so
It's so
cool.
good.
I love it. It's definitely like top 3 favorite fight scenes of all time.
Yeah.
And with all these other ones, especially with the smoke scene, which was so disappointing.
Yeah.
Because with the trailer, you get that one shot that's really cool, and then everything else, you can't see anything because of the smoke.
No.
So you have no sense of like how many bad guys there are, and there's no sense of danger because I get he wants to make it feel like a dance between the two characters and like, oh, they found love. That's great. That's wonderful. But oh my gosh. Let me see what's going on instead of like, well, look at the pretty color. There's smoke.
Yeah.
And also, sorry to, I could
Yeah.
see you were trying to say something, but they had these vents there. Why didn't the bad guy just
shoot
be
the
like,
vents.
yeah, like, hey, activate the vents so my guys can see what they're shooting at.
Yeah.
Instead, he waited till all of them were dead, and it's like, oh, yeah, we got vents. Turn them on.
Yeah, it's so interesting because, like, with a lot of Matthew Vaughn's films, I believe a lot of it, and this one I just didn't. I think there was just too many, like, twists, too, which is so odd because I love Knives Out, and I compared this movie to Knives Out, and Knives Out has all these twists, but, like, there's a twist with Ariana DeBose's character, which she's barely in this film, too, where she's shot through the part of the heart that, like, it's like a 2-inch from the bone, and she survives. And I'm like, that's just dumb. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, honestly, I think that was the one twist that probably could have been done a little better.
Yeah.
Like, I see what they were going at with it, but it just didn't hit well. It didn't blend. That was one of the ones that wasn't so seamless.
Mm-hmm.
And I will give you that one.
And then, like, in the end, like, when Bryce Dallas Howard is being manipulated because she hears the song that manipulated her, and she's just punching Sam Rockwell. I'm like, it just went too long for me. I'm like, oh my god, just blow up this boat and get out of here now.
It was, honestly, that last bit, though, was kind of silly.
Yeah.
Mainly with what they decided to keep in, like, with the whole fight scene, with her being a sleeper agent, with
She's
the
like
music
a
box.
triple agent.
And then it's like she stops it, like, because the music box runs out of wind up.
Yeah.
And there's that pause where Sam Rockwell's character is like looking at Ellie and just kind of being like, "Hey,
I love
this,
you.
yeah, I love you, and you know, you don't have to do this. You know, we have to destroy that box and go after her." And like, why are you explaining that to her when she's right there, like feet away from you, and she's obviously your girlfriend is fine. She's not attacking you at the moment. Go destroy that box.
Yeah.
And they show, it's not like, you know, it's shot in a way where, you know, they try to hide it. It's like she's actively in the background winding it up and taking quite a while, actually, if, you know, considering the circumstances and time frame.
You could have thrown something and, like, probably knock it out of her hand by that point.
Yeah. I mean, one of them had a gun.
Yeah, they did. They did have guns.
Right? Like, I mean, I don't think I was dreaming that.
No. I think there's just a lot that is... It doesn't really work, and it's so disappointing. This movie, to go into kind of budgets and all that, this movie cost $200 million. It had a $17 million opening. Yeah. This movie's not going to make its money back. I hope it does, but...
Yeah.
It's just disappointing, and I think just the love and care for it wasn't there towards the end. I enjoyed it, but I also just expected something different.
Yeah, so. And by the way, when we talk about the CGI, you know, we know that all these CGI workers, visual effects, and all
I'm
that, like,
staying with you guys.
Yeah, you know, we love you guys. We respect your hard work.
And it's hate towards them either.
Yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
But, you know, we just have to acknowledge when there is a product out there that just is lackluster, you know, with its CGI. And it's, again, not your fault, but it's there, and we have to acknowledge it.
Yeah, and it's a big issue just with Hollywood overall. Just like, you know, when it comes down to CGI, it's time and money, and if you're only able to give one of those things, you usually get a bad product of CGI too with it.
Yeah, and again, with Matthew Vaughn, he's typically really good at hiding, you know, bad CGI. Like, again, he makes it much more believable.
Yeah.
With all his over-the-top, you know, bonkersness. But here it just, I think he relied on it a little too much. Yeah. Which is a shame, but...
Well, at least they didn't have to CGI Henry Cavill's mustache in this one. They just gave him 2 weird haircuts at the end. Can we talk about the ending?
Oh, the practical effects with the Henry Cavill's hair revolutionized the film industry.
Oh, his hair!
That's when Hollywood realized they didn't need to CGI hair onto someone's head. It turns out they could grow it and maybe have it cut, and you can change it into a variety of different fashions. Wow, revolutionary.
Thank you so much.
That's one bald spot we're never going to cover up.
Henry Cavill has 2 weird haircuts in this movie. Because at the end, it's revealed that Ellie Conway is doing the 5th Argylle book and she's taking questions. And Henry Cavill stands up with kind of the Superman mullet look. He has the Superman mullet hair.
Kinda
Zack Snyder was trembling.
It's like, God, why didn't I think of that?
Dang it!
No, but he does have a mullet on. Dang, they'd really like to change him up, like his hairstyle,
Poor Henry
quite a bit.
Cavill.
But you look good in a mullet. I would say he looked good.
Bad. I won't
Yeah, he pulled it
lie.
off.
It was much better than his spiky hair. But in
yeah.
the end credit scene reveals that they're making a Argylle movie, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah, and they're also part of that post-credit scene. The
Yes.
big kicker is that it's actually a blend of the Kingsman world and Argylle. So
Which-
Argylle and Kingsman are connected.
Matthew Vaughn had to. He was like, I got this franchise. We better make this work.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, I'm okay with that. I kind of saw that coming from a mile away. I was just wondering with how they were going to do it.
Yeah, Argyle's it's a cool character. Like, if it was a book series, I would read it. So.
Yeah. I mean, kind of like what Sam Rockwell's character says at one point, like, oh, I love this book.
Yes.
And then just
That's me.
stamp someone with it. Oh, man. But yeah, I would say overall, good and bad, considering it all.
I had fun.
Yeah, I had fun with this movie.
Yeah.
Was I completely invested throughout the entire thing? Not entirely, but I still can walk out of this movie and say I enjoyed it, and I could probably, recommend it to someone that is going to, say, an Alamo Draft House and plan to have a couple drinks in them with it. Again, no discredit to the people that worked on it, just, not the best work. But I still enjoyed it. So good job, guys. Kudos.
Could have used more Dua Lipa.
That would have solved everything.
It would have made the movie so much better.
Oh, it's amazing what putting your crotch to someone's face and spinning in circles constantly for a solid few minutes can truly resolve.
Oh my gosh.
If you've seen the movie, you would get that. But yeah, those are our thoughts on Argylle. Annmarie, anything else?
Henry Cavill, bro, just get a normal barber. Just go down the street. You can do it.
Hey, listen, Looney Tunes have a great barbershop scene. Like, they even sing a little opera. I mean, she says you look like a cartoon character. They might be hiring.
Warner Brothers probably would have you back, bro.
And with that, thank you for listening to Cassette Take with Ethan and Annmarie. We hope that you haven't ejected at all during this listening, but whether you have or haven't, please don't forget to rewind. We're just glad to have you listening at all. We hope that I'm blanking out.
We'll see you later, Matthew Vaughnisms.
Matthew Vaughnisms, we will see you later. And Henry Cavill, we will see you at the barber.
Oh, poor Henry Cavill.
See you guys.
Bye.